What's up guys, this is Casey Underhill bringing you a quick Blender tutorial today. This is a bed that I'm working on for a model scene of a bedroom. I really don't want to show you guys any of the modeling, I just want to focus on the materials because you can model beds fairly easily and I'm sure you can do a much better job than I have here. This is just something I threw together real quick to show you guys. If you have a look at my material, you can see how it's sort of glossy in areas that are being hit by the light, and it's got this pattern down here at the bottom half. It's also got just a tiny bit of a rough fabric-y sort of texture to it. So I wanted to show you guys exactly how I achieve that. Let me go ahead and hide my render view. And this is basically what I have. I just have this cube. So if I hide my bed frame, it's just been sculpted a little bit, and I think it's got a subsurf modifier on it. Yeah. So nothing too fancy. When you start out, make sure that when you have your object finished from modeling, make sure that you Control A and apply the scale, and then you're just going to go in and hit Tab, select everything, U, and I think I went with cube projection. You might have to play around with it. I'm not going to mess with it because I already have it set the way that I want to, but if you have to, you can go to like top view and select those and unwrap it, and then go to like the side view and select those and unwrap it. However you want to do your unwrapping it's completely up to you and depends on your model. So I'm not going to show you too much of any of that, but I do want to show you I have two materials over here to the side. I have a fabric blank and a fabric pattern. The fabric blank is this side. Let me select that for you. And that is basically just that grayish fabric texture. And then I have a fabric pattern, which is the one with this weird maze sort of design on it. So let me go ahead and get to showing you the actual materials, since that's what I really want to be showing you. Go to my compositor. Okay, this looks pretty complicated, but don't freak out, it's actually fairly easy. Let's start with the fabric blank. This is just fabric, no pattern. I'm not just going to show you step by or go through this step by step. I'm going to actually show you. So let me duplicate my material output. I'll just bring it up here where it's nice and empty and I can show you. So let's start out by adding an input texture coordinate node and a vector mapping node, and we're going to connect that up by UV to vector. Now we're going to add a texture image texture and connect the vector of the mapping to the vector of the image texture. And the image that we're looking for here, I've used a texture right here. This is called carpet blue. This is a texture I created myself. It's just a tileable texture of carpet. I don't think it really matters too much what you look for. Just search around. I think cgtextures.com should have a couple of carpeting sort of pictures. It doesn't matter the coloring or anything like that, because you're just going to plug this into the displacement. So while we're at it, let's go ahead and the scale for these, it needs to be blown way up. So I think we're going to do a 50 scale. And now we want to add a converter math node, set that to multiply, and put the color of the image texture into the top value. And then we're going to change the bottom value to 0.015 and plug that right into the displacement. And that's basically all there is for the displacement. We're done with that one. So the next thing I want to do is I want to add a shader, velvet shader. I don't have a whole lot of experience with the velvet shader, but it gave me a smooth, glossy sort of mix that I liked, so I'm gonna stick with the velvet shader. I'm gonna plug that right into the surface of my material output. Now obviously the coloring is not correct so far, so here's what we're gonna do. We're just gonna add a color mix RGB, and I actually have a reference image down here somewhere, if it'll let me open it. Here we go. Okay, this is actually the scene that I am working on right now. And this is why I had to make this bed, because it obviously it looks like this in the reference image. So I tried to figure that out. I'm also very, very colorblind, so I like to just grab the colors directly from my reference image if I can. Just going to grab a dark color and a light color. The dark color on top and the light color on the bottom. That's very, very important. So next I want to add an input Fresnel node and change the IOR to 1.9. I'm going to plug the factor of that into the factor of the mix shader, and then just plug the mix shader right into the velvet shader. And that is pretty much it for that one. So this one looks just a tiny bit different in that instead of using the colors for the mix shader, I actually used RGB value nodes. You can do that if you want. Honestly, it's just an extra step for me, so I don't really bother with it. I just plug the colors directly into the mix shader. And I think this one's pretty much ready to go. So, now that we have that, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of my old one so you can see what our new material looks like. And let's go ahead and go to the fabric pattern. Now this one gets just a tiny bit more complicated. You go ahead and duplicate that. And obviously the displacement for this one is going to be exactly the same. So actually, instead of doing this, let me create another fabric blank material. Go up here to fabric blank. Because here's what you do when you're making the fabric pattern. You actually make a copy of fabric blank, and you're just going to hit that little number, the 2, and then we'll rename that fabric pattern new. And now we have everything set up exactly the same. So right now the bed, the entire bed, is colored exactly the same with that gray kind of color. So what we want to do is, now that we have all of this stuff, let's drag these back and up a little bit. I'm going to add in shader, mix shader. And we want to add our image texture. This is going to be our pattern. So let's open up, oops, cancel that. Actually still have it in here. Or at least I think I do. Where is it? Pattern 3. Alright, let me open up that pattern for you so you can see what that looks like. Here's the pattern. Now, it doesn't matter what your pattern looks like. The important part about the pattern is that there is a transparent background, because we need that fabric underneath it to show through. So make sure that you have that alpha transparency in the background of your pattern, whatever that pattern may be. You can find a lot of patterns online. A lot of them are not going to have that transparency in the background, so you might have to do some editing of yourself. I want to reopen my image here. And I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this mix node. And I'm going to plug the Fresnel into the factor of that mix node. And for the colors, I want to choose this gold color here. So I want this darker gold and the brighter gold. Okay, so now that we have that, let's go ahead and duplicate our velvet shader. Plug that in. We'll plug this into the bottom of our mix shader. And for the image texture over here, you're probably wondering, why didn't we do anything with that? Well, we're just going to take the alpha value from this, plug it right into the factor. And I think everything should be set up to go here. Let me look at my other one here and see what I did with this one. This attribute node here is just from my UV unwrapping. I have it unwrapped a little bit strange to get it to fit properly. I may have to do that again over here on the pattern new, but I just want to show you what it looks like. Also, I guess I did not need 2 Fresnel value nodes. I could have just taken this and plugged it into here. But aside from that, everything looks exactly the same. So, dun, 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 dun. Everything should be all set, so let's go ahead and I'll show you what this looks like in the rendered view. And my computer's a little slow, sorry about that, guys. Come on. Aha! Now, obviously this whole thing has sort of a gold glow to it. That's actually my lighting. I added in sort of a weird indoor lighting for this. I could probably see if I can find a better one here. I used the indoor lighting because it just wasn't giving me like the same sort of gloss in my final render so that you could see it. Once you add this material into more of a scene, yeah, as you can see, as soon as I change my lighting, a lot of that glossiness fades out. It's harder to see. It's still there, but it's harder to see. As soon as you add this into a room with other objects that have gloss and diffuse and all that, the lighting works a lot better with this, but without anything else around there, it's just kind of plain. But this is the basis of what we have here. So with just a tiny bit of extra work on your part of doing the unwrapping, we've split this down the bottom portion. We've added that pattern. The entire bed looks exactly the same material except for the pattern, which is the nice gold color. And there are a couple of views that we can see here where we're getting that nice glossy fabricy sort of sheen. We get that right around here at the edge, right here at the edge, and we're getting that same gloss all the way across both the gold and the gray color, which is why we have to add the Fresnel value to both. So I believe that should be everything for the tutorial for you guys. So hopefully this helps you in making some different fabrics. You could add this to blankets, you could add this to beds, couches, anything that really has a fabric material to it. You can obviously mess around with sizes and designs and anything that you want to. I really hope this helps you guys. Let me know in the comments if you have something else that you want me to work on or something else you want me to show you. Have a good day.